Hello and good evening, everybody. Star Trek, the original series, Is There in Truth No Beauty, from season 3, episode 7, or episode 5, depending what order you go in, is over. And it has been since October 18th, 1968. But we're just getting started here, October 18th, 2021, as we're exactly however many years later this is, 53 years later. 53 years later, we're here to talk about this episode to the day that it aired in season 3 of Star Trek, the original series. I'm Dave Mader, coming with Star Trek TV and movie reviews. We're back, baby. Oh, we're back. We got the whole panel here to talk about the TED Treks. We got my dad, Ted. How you doing tonight, Dad?
Good.
We got Adam Woodward.
Hey, guys. That was a long break.
There's a long break there. Yeah, I think there's
a
bit of a lag. I can hear you.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a lag. But we're going to get through it. Jody Simpson sending his request is we're here on a very special late night Monday night. 53 years to the day. We're back into curling season now. And so we have to move around some podcasts. We actually did Deep Space Nine already before we even did original series this week. So not even the first podcast of the week, but we've been off for 3 weeks. Dad, you were traveling abroad in Nova Scotia.
Nova Scotia, yeah, abroad.
Yeah, very broad. You had to go through many checkpoints, many security checkpoints through the fabled New Brunswicks and the Quebecs.
New Brunswick and Nova Scotia.
Yes, but you're back. I was also traveling. There was Canadian Thanksgiving in there, so there was a lot going on. Welcome back. As we only have 5 episodes left here in our Star Trek original series rewatch podcasts. This was our 5th last. Is There in Truth No Beauty? The title keeps throwing me off because it's not exactly, it doesn't quite roll off the tongue. But let's break this down. This episode, I don't think is a bad episode. I also think it's not necessarily a great episode either. It's sort of like we've been talking about many of these episodes we sort of left to the end. They're sort of either really bad or they're kind of mediocre. Where does this one rank for you, Dad?
A little bit better than mediocre, but not great. It's a little slow at times. But It was kind of some interesting concepts going on.
Some interesting concepts. We had the Medusans, who are kind of like and Ambassador Kolos. They're kind of like the big setup of this episode. A species so hideous, much like the fabled Medusa, that they would drive you insane just to look at them. Over to Adam. Adam, what do you think of this storyline?
You know what? A couple of nice treats here. First of all, we got to see is it Diana
Mulder? Yes, and
yes.
Let Dad. Did you know this? Did you know who this guest?
She looked familiar, that girl.
Well, she was well known for playing Dr. Catherine. Oh, what's going on? You guys seen that?
Yeah,
that's weird. Okay, well, there's a picture of her. Okay, it's not doing it. Okay, there's Diana Mulder as she was on Star Trek: The Next Generation's 2nd season as she played Dr. Pulaski, Dad.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. I never associated her with that. I thought that maybe she was in another episode somewhere along the way.
Well, she's also in another Star Trek: The Original Series episode.
Yes, that's what I thought. Yes,
which we have also watched already. I'm just trying to find that image here. I believe her name was. No, that's not her. Come on, where is she? There she is. Do you remember this episode where they were making? This is one where like there was all like these aliens that were living inside these big orbs, and then they were trying to like create android bodies. And so like the evil one was in Spock, and like there was a good one in Kirk, and there was like a woman. You remember that?
Vaguely, yes. Do you remember what the episode was called?
The episode is called. I can definitely find it out. I just have to look at the episode Diana Mulder was also in. Yes, we talked about this some time ago. Her name in that episode, and that episode's name is her character was Anne Mulhall in that episode. a lieutenant commander, astrobiologist, who was in the episode Returned to Tomorrow.
Return to Tomorrow.
Yes, which we would have watched some time ago. Return to Tomorrow was in what season? Return to Tomorrow was season 2. So season 2, episode 22, Return to Tomorrow. Dad, you liked that episode. You gave it an 8.3.
Yeah.
Got an
Return
8.2,
to
and yes, Return to Tomorrow. Remember, there was the you don't remember it very well. Whoa, we lost Adam. But
No, he's just chasing the dog, I think.
chasing the dog. Yeah, but so she was in that one.
I
She's
vaguely
also,
recall it.
yeah, she's still living to this day, Diana Mulder.
Well, she looked awful familiar. When I saw her, I said, I think she's been in another episode.
She's in one other episode, and then she was in many episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation. Her character not so popular in that show.
You know what? But you actually, looking back on it, it's not as bad as you think. She wasn't horrible.
No.
Data, look at this.
Data. That's right.
That's the big.
Data.
She was a little mean to Data. She mispronounced his name as Data. A lot of the fans have never forgiven her, Dad.
Oh, is that
But-
right?
She was like a McCoy. Her character on Next Generation, she was like a female version of McCoy. Right? Would that be
Okay.
fair, Adam?
That was fair. I think she, like, looking back, and when you watch Next Gen now, she's not my most hated character by any means. And some of the episodes she was on was in pretty good. Like, looking back, Measure of a Man, for instance.
She's pretty good in that one. She's in, even in Samaritan Snare, where she has to save Picard from his triple bypass surgery
Yes.
or whatever.
Yep.
So she had some moments, but let's go back to her character in this episode, which is Dr. Miranda Jones. Is that her name?
Mhm.
Yeah. Dr. Jones.
Dr. Jones. So we don't know this for most of the episode, but she's actually a blind telepath, a human blind telepath. One of the only examples I can recall of a human telepath being shown prominently in Star Trek. But this isn't apparently that rare. The other thing that also was kind of unique to this character was that that has been done since, is to say that she kind of she learned her telepathy on Vulcan. She had spent some of her formative years on Vulcan, learning Vulcan mental disciplines, learning to turn her telepathic ability sort of off and shut out all the noise that comes with being a telepath. And also some, I guess, more of the indoctrination parts of it. Yes. And she even learned how to do the Vulcan Salute, Dad, something you've never mastered. If only you studied for 4 years on Vulcan.
Oh, wait.
Almost. Yeah. But I think what's interesting about her character in particular is that she's obviously she's visually impaired. She can't see, but she has this technology in the form of this sensor web that allows her to be aware of her surroundings and kind of do things as a sighted person could. Kind of a foreshadow, maybe, Adam, to Geordie LaForge.
Yeah, I guess so. I didn't see that connection last night, honestly, when I watched it. You're right, though. We never did see another human as that kind of role. I also thought it was kind of interesting when they were talking about her going to Vulcan, because this is a very much a Spock episode.
Yeah.
Right. And, you've got the crossover. He left Vulcan to go to Earth to study on Starfleet. She left Earth to go to Vulcan to hone into her telepathing skills. So, and then when you look at who was actually offered the job here first, it was actually Spock.
He was offered her job. Yeah, that he could have been the ambassador's companion or whatever.
Yes.
So
because no wonder she's a little bit intimidated by him.
Right. She was like runner up to the job.
Yes, and
Right.
and she's going to try to master what he's already has mastered. So
right, because let's go in the whole premise of these Medusans, and is that they are so hideous that they cannot be looked at. They are so different physically. Human will go insane But a Vulcan, if they wear a visor, can look at them. But without a
Really?
visor, no. I didn't get that part.
Well, I think it just blocked out all the noise and it allowed them not to see them as they were.
Well, let's just have a quick look just to see. Ah! Oh, look at it.
You're okay, Dave. You're not going mad.
Oh, guys, the insanity. I'm gonna
Hey,
fly
don't you
this.
have one of those? Don't you have one of those Geordie LaForge things you put over your eyes?
The visor. I don't actually have a good one handy here,
No?
but yes, yeah. But yes, it's just a bunch of flashy lights coming out of a briefcase for the most part,
Yeah.
and is what they show us with these Medusans. Like I was like, okay, like it's just like it's one of these other concepts that the original series throws out to me that I just don't think has a lot of payoff to it, because we can never actually see these Medusans because that doesn't actually exist. Like it's hard for us to imagine something that would make us go crazy just by looking at it. But it's not like there's things in like the Bible that say a similar thing. Like if you saw like God, you would have a
Well,
similar
there was
reaction.
a thing where if you looked at the Medusa, in that lore, you would go blind or something.
You turn to stone in the myth.
You turn to stone, yeah. Right.
Yeah, Medusa was a creature in Greek mythology that had snakes for hair. And then if you looked at Medusa, you would turn into stone.
Yeah.
Right. So they're playing off that. And so yeah, like initially only Spock can beam them aboard, and then there's like sort of like escorting this ambassador Kolos in his little box kind of through the ship. We talked about how there's some conversation with Spock and Miranda Jones saying, you were up for this job. And there was also this guy Maverick, good old Larry Maverick. He's actually in the Marvick. Yeah,
Marvick.
So we actually meet him even before we meet Miranda Jones. He beams aboard and says, "Okay, just so you know, no humans can be looking at Kolos. The Vulcan's okay, but everyone else gets out of here." So we meet him initially. He's later on at the dinner because they have like a dinner in full dress uniform. At least Scotty, Kirk, McCoy, Marvick, is that his name?
Yeah.
And they kind of had they have this whole dinner. We kind of cut into the dinner partway through. And I guess his job there was to adapt the instrumentation to meet the needs of the navigators to take I don't know. His purpose for there is kind of vague. But this is kind of like there's also a couple like scenes here in this dinner in particular where she's talking to Mr. Spock about the Vulcan Edict here, and just to show it here that he wears on his uniform, which she was like, "Do you wear that to insult me? To say that you got a much better telepathic bond than me?" Or he's like, "No, I do it because I thought it would be cool and it'd be nice to honor you," he says. Later on, he's wearing it with a chain around his neck at him, like he's a gangster. Like,
well, it's funny how I think he's got this in his quarters, and 2 seasons have passed by, and then now finally he's broken this out. As we haven't seen this before, have we?
I don't think it's certainly never been referred to by name. I don't think
I've never seen it before.
Yeah,
it was interesting. I like it. I like that touch on the uniform. And Dave, I know you like your uniforms, but the dinner, I always like when they break out their dress uniforms,
especially Scotty with that whole kilt.
Yeah, but more about the decorations for everybody on their uniforms. Like the captain, he's got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah,
and and I don't know about those. I'd like to know more about all of that stuff.
Yeah, I think it's meant to be like like the medals and the decorative stuff that you see on different dress uniforms in our own time. Like you see that Spock's and Kirk's uniforms are much more ornate. They have way more, and then Scotty and McCoy less so, in terms of just like it's presumably like maybe to correspond to your service or years of service, or maybe different things like that,
or your culture. I mean,
or your culture.
Scotty brings out the kilt, which
Brings out the kilt.
Well, I don't know. Scotty and his buddies down there in engineering, they got to learn to fight, man.
Yeah.
That one guy took all three of them.
Four of them. Yeah. Like
What's
he
with that?
knocked them all out.
What's with that?
I don't know. That's what Medusa insanity will do to you. Make you super strong, apparently.
That was kind of weak on their part. The first thing they should learn if they're regarding the ship is to not let some guy drive it who they don't even know who he is.
No, he's like
Larry Marvick took over the ship.
Well, this was after, and at the dinner, like Scotty's like, "Hey," when the dinner's over, he's like, "You want to come drinking with me at engineering?"
Yeah, come on down. We'll get some scotch, and you can take the ship to another galaxy.
Yeah, you can fly us into the Galactic Barrier. How does that sound? Swell.
Yeah, and there's
Great.
no way out. And luckily, we had a Medusan on board that could get us out of there. Because if not, they had no way out there. They'd stay there forever.
Yeah. Yeah, like that's it. Kind of silly, but there's more conversation at this dinner that we speaking about the Greek myths. Spock chides McCoy for subscribing to the outmoded notion that promulgated by ancient Greeks that what is good must also be beautiful, right? So there's like, why? Well, McCoy's like, why would anyone want to look at these Medusans? And what's the point? And kind of like questioning everything as McCoy does. And the fact that Jones is such a beautiful woman, which is always brought up in the dialogue, because this is Star Trek, the original series. And, and
I like when they sent Kirk in to try and, take over, and get her to forget about the idea of Spock doing what he had to do. So they brought Kirk in to like kind of kiss her and stuff.
Yeah, like kind of compliment her or whatever, and he was like, "Well,
with
come
all
on,
the plants."
Well, yeah, that's near the end, but with Miranda and everything, yeah, he's like, "Whatever." And then, but then as they're kind of like wrapping up the dinner, she's like, "Somebody wants to murder here. I can feel it." She senses this murder feeling, and she, but they don't. Someone here is thinking of murder. She doesn't know who it is.
And who was it?
It was Marvick. It was
Larry Marvick. Who did he want to murder?
I guess it was Kolos. He wanted to kill Kolos because and we learned pretty quickly after this, because after the dinner he goes to see her in her quarters and he's like, "Don't go with Kolos. Come, run off with me and marry me. Be Mrs. Marvick." And she's like, "Listen, man, I told you. I'm married to my job. I'm married. I'm going off with Kolos. Nothing's gonna mess with this." And then she figures out that it's him that wants to murder, and presumably Kolos. And he actually tries to go to
Kodos, the executioner.
Kodos, the executioner, could be.
Yeah.
But I don't know what his plan was. He was the one telling everybody you got to wear visors and everything else around Kolos. And now he goes in very recklessly here, Adam. He's like, "I'm just going to shoot Kolos in the room," but then he sees him, and go figure, he gets the insanity.
He goes mad.
He goes mad, and he runs out of the room, and he's in a frenzy. He even he meets up with Hadley. Hadley, that nondescript navigator who sometimes takes over for Sulu at the helm. He punches him right in front of like the turbo lift, and keeps going on his business. And that's where.
Remember when that first announced that the commander Kodos is coming, and everybody in the hall? How many people were in the hall? There's never been that many people in the halls of a Star Trek episode in history. When there must have been like 30 people in the halls, right?
Well, there's like 450 people on the ship, right?
I know, but they never see that many people in the hall. And all of a sudden,
they were like, every extra is on set today for this. We're
We better get out of the hall.
Yeah, Ted, that's something that's sort of always bugged me about that, for having 450 odd people on the ship and you never really see anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
And it wasn't until oh my gosh, Deep Space Nine, when they went back in time and saw we're on the Enterprise, they saw all these people walking around, and I go, there they are, they're there. They didn't have the budget back in 1968.
Didn't have the budget every week. Can't,
Yeah.
But for this one, they did. They were like, we're going to put so many people in.
They listen for a season 3. The colors were great. The costuming was great. I like this episode.
Guest star was good. The writing's good enough.
But even showing, I wish the one thing I wish they didn't do was call Kolos, is it? Kolos ugly. They kept referring to ugliness but it was different. They could have really focused on the lighting or something. They just couldn't. Humans couldn't tolerate it or something like that. It would have been, I think, a little bit more believable.
Yeah, I just think like the imagination of that wasn't fully realized. I think there was more potential there.
Yeah, but I guess when you look at, they had to call them Medusans, and that was a link everybody could make.
Yeah, we'll call them Medusans, and people would go, "Oh, I can't even imagine what that is."
Well, they're ugly. They turned us to stone.
They're so ugly. They're so ugly.
Hideous.
Here's a guy, Marvick. This is what kind of insanity you can expect. So he goes down there, and he Scotty initially is like, "Hey, yeah, you took me up on my offer." He's letting him run the ship, and then Kirk goes, "Announcement: there's an attempted murder. There's a guy who's extremely dangerous. He really waits to get to the point, right?" And then he's like, "And that person is Larry Marvick." And then Scotty's like, "Oh no!" And then all of Scotty's crew, like all 4 of them, I guess, on the night shift or whatever, they're going out. You're right, Dad. How he knocked them all unconscious?
I think so.
Because they don't even answer when Uhura tries to call down there later on, after the fight.
Were they all wearing red shirts?
They were all wearing red shirts, but one of them couldn't say securities, come to engineering, or something like that.
No, you know what? The evolution to the communicator on the uniform was a very good thing.
Yes.
You didn't have to get to a wall.
That was a good advance in technology there. And
It's
so
kind of like a cop. Cops have the thing on their shoulder today, like a communication device right on their shoulder that they never had in the past, right? So
right, yeah,
probably,
like their walkie-talkie.
It's very similar to today in essence, because a policeman doesn't have to go to his car to phone in. He's got that thing right on his right here.
Everyone in Starfleet should have a panic button on their wrist all the time, or something like that. Yes, that would be prudent because they get into trouble a lot. Sometimes before you're able to call out for help. And so, but Larry Marvick, crazy Larry Marvick, he's got an idea. He's going to fly this ship. They're like, they quickly lose control. They're like, we're going warp 8, warp 9.5. Spock and Chekhov are trying to figure this out, but it happens very quickly, and they fly right through the Galactic Barrier. And this is where I guess Kirk comes down to engineering. They kind of capture him. They take back engineering, and he Marvick's like, "I love you, Dr. Jones. I'm crazy for you." And she's like,
and then he died.
Yeah, but not before he said, "Watch out for her. She'll kill you." He kind of throws some shade at her. He kind of throws suspect on her right before he dies. Anyway, I was like, "See you later, Larry Marvick. I have no time for you." But now the Enterprise is stranded in the uncharted void with no points of reference. They can't get back. Spock says, "We got here, but we don't know how to get out."
They didn't even know where they were, Dave.
They had no idea where they were. The rules of physics.
Reference. That's right.
Yeah. Okay. So Spock's like, the only way out is to use Kolos because he has the skills that can help us pilot out of here. Conveniently that he's here. But we need somebody who can mind meld with him and then do it. But he was like, you gotta watch out for that Dr. Jones. She's pretty jealous of my telepathic abilities. You saw what she said about my Vulcan Edict earlier. And so Kirk takes her to the Arboretum, and he basically takes her on a date, to distract her, which seems to work for a little while. But eventually, I guess Kirk's like,
I wish we had moonlight, Dave. I wish we had moonlight.
Yes.
Yeah, well, he takes them down to the observation deck or wherever he takes all his dates, but then they kind of run right into Kolos's quarters at the end of it, and he's like, "Hey, I'm already here, and I'm gonna do this, and you're not the right choice because you can't pilot the starship." And this is where McCoy reveals to everyone, "Hey, you're blind. You can't pilot this. Even if you could learn how to pilot the ship, you're not the most qualified to do this, especially between you and Spock."
So that was a nice surprise.
I knew that, right? I kind of figured that out early on, that she was blind, because how could she look at that guy, that and not go mad,
I thought she had just mastered her emotions and was with him enough that she could
No,
figure
I
this
figured she was blind. I said to Beth, I said, she's blind. She's blind. Somehow she's doing this. I don't know how she could see things like Spock's metal, but
Right.
she managed to fool them all.
But this was like so cool how they, from here on in, like how they explained how she was seeing. I thought that, because I loved her costumes, I thought she looked great, and then they had a use. They're a big sensor, dress essentially.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought about the visor, like Geordie's visor, and not only with that, but there's also this question of why do you hide it? Why do you hide your status? And she's like, I don't like being pitied by others. That's I don't like other people to know because I don't want it. Which I guess is a natural and sort of a real world answer, although maybe not so 23rd century.
But back to that whole thing. I mean, you started off by saying, she had to choose, between career and essentially, feeling. I mean, I think that was a very big commentary in the time too, where women, if they were in business or in a role, they had to, shut things down and be, and that carried on till now almost. You can be one thing or another, but you can't be both.
It's constantly brought up in the original series. Like, it's like, oh, well, she's a great officer, but I'm going to lose her to babies or whatever. Or, if only she wasn't so emotional. So it's either women are too emotional, their careers are going to be cut short, or they're just too scared of things. And it's just, I don't know. I think there was kind of a conversation going on at the time about how to balance family and sort of these traditional things that have been going on for not even that long, really, a few decades. But at that point, it seemed really important to the people watching it and writing it. So they put it in all the time. Anyway, so. Just to go through, I want to just talk about this whole part where after like Spock does actually go through the mind meld. I don't know do I have a picture of him here? Because we kind of get we have this one here. So he goes through like the mind meld, right? And then like we kind of get like this new version of the same character. We get a Spock Kolos mashup man who's both people at once.
Dave, this is where the episode got really good. Leonard Nimoy to me became, I'm talking Leonard Nimoy, not Spock. He was awesome as both. And I said to Callie, my wife, I said to her, I wonder if Spock had been written without the emotions, if we would have seen more. Well, we would have seen much more depth in what he can do as an actor, because he was great.
Yeah, he was really great in this scene where he was like, "Hey, I know you, Kirk. You're my friend, and McCoy. I've known you for a while." And it was kind of like there was a playfulness, kind of like
Aurora, which means peace or something, right?
Yeah, which means freedom in Swahili, and
yes, freedom.
Yeah, he was like kind of going around. This was a much more engaging Spock, a much funner Spock at parties. The Kolos Spock. And so I agree. His performance here is really strong. It's just long enough too. You get just enough of it, and then it's over. And then like some of these other times where the crew gets like possessed by.
Kirk shut him down. Kirk shut him down. Said, "Okay, that's enough."
He's like, "Yeah, I need Spock back."
Shut
The
it down,
sheer-
Colo. Shut it down.
I think Shatner was going, okay, he's overstaging me. He's better than me. I gotta get him out.
Yeah. Shut
Yeah,
it down.
yeah. Like, this is no good. This is no good. Go back to being Mr. No Emotions. That's much better.
But yeah,
Anyway,
it was a very good scene. One of my favorite scenes in this whole original series.
yeah, but for some reason Spock /Kodos doesn't put the visor on for the return mind meld. Of course, no one else thinks to remind him either of everybody present. Slips all their minds until it's too late, and then they go, "Uh-oh," and Spock is kind of he's got the insanity now.
Yeah, he's gonna be insanity.
Kirk has to knock him out with a phaser, and they take him to sickbay. And really, the only person who can save him now is Miranda Jones. But Miranda Jones is his rival, and Kirk and McCoy debate this and talk about the issues. And Kirk's like, I go in and I got to tell her, stop me. Don't be petty. Don't be selfish. Don't be jealous of Spock. You need to help him. And this was a big gamble. If he really thinks that she's the only one who can save him. On the other hand, he's worried that she has a motive to not see him make it through this, I guess, right? Not survive this. Now because how much is her ambition and her jealousy of Spock's ability going to factor into this? What he calls the ugliness within you, Miranda. And she's like, that's not true. I'm not like that. Go away. But Kirk, he goes, I don't know. Maybe that wasn't the right thing to do. I'm not sure. But maybe it was. Anyway, she ultimately decides to, I don't know if she wasn't trying to help him before, but I guess this maybe was enough motivation that she's able to like, okay, I'm going to do it now. I'm going to really save him. And she mind melts him. I don't know. He wakes up, and it seems to be all good. And that's kind of near the end of the episode. She then leaves. Kirk and Spock tell her that his words. She says that what Kirk said to her allowed her to see. So, and he gives her a rose. There was a scene earlier in the dinner where she was like, she had a rose. He loves to go for the ladies.
But before you get there, though, there was a scene where Spock, was coming back, mind molding back,
yes,
separating from Kolos, and he forgot to put the visor on.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Kirk looks down and, oh my God, the visor is not on. Spock.
Oh yeah. Well, he's like, nobody go behind there. Nobody go behind that. Yeah.
And then of course he goes behind there, but Spock comes out, and that's how that scene was filmed was great. Again, it was almost like point of view from Spock, where they're really attacking him.
Right. Well, just like the weird bubble or like bubble camera where we see with the fish eye lens or whatever you would call that. Yeah.
And I love the scene or the shot where Chekhov and Sulu both jump on him together. It was like it was good.
And he flung them both off.
And he's just taking care of everybody, right?
Yeah. Well, just like that Marvick, you can take on at least 4 people if you have Medusa insanity.
Yes.
Medusa, yeah. And there's so the end of the episode was just kind of like Spock and Jones have they exchange pleasantries. He wishes her well. He puts on the goggles before beaming them out, but Kirk is still present too, right? He's not wearing the goggles.
Yeah, Spock. He didn't leave he didn't leave the transporter room. No, but no, he didn't wear the goggles.
That was weird. Okay, and inconsistent. Anyway, but there's the whole there's a little bit more of the Vulcan doctrine, I guess, that's kind of exchanged here. So there's the whole peace and live long and prosper, right? And then the response of peace and long life. And and then she says, oh yeah, one or the other, I guess this would be a Vulcan saying, right? She goes, the glory of creation is in its infinite diversity. And his response is, and the ways our differences combine to create them gives them meaning and beauty. So I thought it was like, okay, hey, some interesting philosophy from the Vulcans that there's a little bit more depth and character than they're often sort of credited for. Really liked some of that dialogue and some of those lines that were written in there. And that's it. Like, that's in terms of like the story. But maybe there's some trivia that we can help us uncover some things we don't know about it.
Yeah, I can take some of those, Dave.
Okay, you're up, Adam. I'm just going to quickly create the.
All right. So the Vulcan Edict was inserted into the script and into the episode at the behest of Gene Roddenberry, who wanted to sell the prop as an item at his Lincoln Enterprise. Nimoy Shatner were outraged at this, and Roddenberry was called to the set to negotiate with the actors. Finally, he had to rewrite the dinner scene with the edict symbol used, but in a much less prominent way.
He's like, okay, and at the end, I want you to wear it around your neck.
Yes.
On a chain. That's going to help sell it.
But interesting. Yeah, he probably took it to the auction from there.
Yeah.
All right. When Jessica Walter, the original actress proposed for the role of Miranda Jones, became unavailable and the search for a replacement was fruitless, the director recommended Diana Mulder for the role, since they worked together in a previous season of Return to Tomorrow, which we already talked about. And also they worked together on an episode of I Spy. But there was a policy against the reuse of guest stars in different roles. And this was a claim refuted by a large number of actors later on. The problem was solved by having Mulder wear a black wig, creating a different appearance for the actress. So there you go.
Oh, like there was other example. I think that was more of a. There's got to be other guests who have definitely went out with the male actors. Like, it's easily to refute. We saw a bunch of character actors play multiple roles on original series, but
yeah, but I think that main roles, like she was playing, very different. Yeah, because you do see a lot of the males play, security guards or ensigns and things like that, or yeomen, but never main roles. According to the Star Trek 30th anniversary book, Mike Miner painted the pictures of exotic planets seen in the dining room. They reappeared in Kirk's quarters in other third season episodes. Yep.
I didn't pick up on those. There's some interesting paintings. Okay.
Yep. The Arboretum, which is located on the swing set of a Desilu Stage 10, was originally built for Elan of Troyes, but its appearance ended up as a deleted scene, so it never ended up in that episode. Apart from this episode, it was only seen as the children shall lead. Actually, it was generally assumed that this was the Arboretum on entering. Kirk says, "I may be sentimental, but this is my favorite place, Earth," possibly indicating that this is Roddenberry's half-hearted attempt to be introducing a holographic area, which he had planned for the next season.
A holodeck.
Yep. However, since Kirk gives Dr. Jones a non-holographic red rose at the end of the episode, indications are strong that the room was not a projection.
Yeah. Arboretum.
Yep. This is one of only 2 instances in which Scotty wears the dress uniform, complete with his ancestral tartan. But whereas he wears white socks in this episode, in the Savage Curtain, he wears red ones.
Are the socks significant for the tartan?
I don't know. Good question. Something to look at.
Isn't an arboretum? No, what's it where you kill animals? What's that called?
That's an albatross, isn't it?
An abattoir?
Abattoir. Just looking here. Oh, this is interesting. Shots of the Enterprise in the Galactic Void are recycled from Where No Man Has Gone Before. It was never made clear exactly where the Enterprise had been thrown. Speculation includes a return trip to the Galactic Barrier, an earlier trip to the Great Barrier seen in Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, or to some other distant location in space.
It reminded me of the movie where God was in the movie.
Yeah, that's what they
like
just
that.
referred to here. The Great Barrier.
Yeah. It reminded me of that.
But don't they go to the Great Barrier and by any other name? When
They do actually. Yes, they do.
Yeah, so I feel like they've been here before, and they should be able to navigate out of it.
Well, a very rare stock shot of the Enterprise is used when the ship warps towards the barrier under Marvik's control. It is taken from the opening of the episode "The Cage," and it shows the Enterprise at high speed blasting towards the camera. The same shot is used later in with that which survives.
That which survives.
Dave, do you know who is Eddie Paskey?
One of the writers.
No, he's I think he plays like a security guy or something. Anyway,
is that Hadley? That might be Hadley.
Hadley, okay, yeah. This was Eddie Paskey's last appearance in the series. Paskey suffered a back injury while filming the scene of Spock attacking his crewmates. Due to the injury, he was excluded from the scene.
Oh, he's one of the red shirts that grabs them there, probably after Spock.
At the engine room?
No, in the bridge.
On the bridge. This, along with the bright lights of the set, was causing constant headaches. And hey, I made the decision to leave after that episode.
I can't do this Star Trek thing anymore, he said. I'm out.
Yeah. Little did he know, he should have stayed around.
Yeah, that's what happens, Eddie.
Yeah. Okay, so we did reference Geordi before. So despite Dr. McCoy's insistence that Dr. Jones cannot pilot the Enterprise due to her blindness, by the time of the Next Generation, Geordi LaForge, a blind man, was the helmsman on the Enterprise D during the first season.
Helmsman.
Yep. There are several references to Shakespeare in this episode. Miranda was the name of Prospero's virginal daughter in The Tempest. Spock, Kolos, and Miranda also reference the play which Kolos sees Miranda for the first time through humanoid eyes. "O brave new world that has creatures in it," to which Miranda answers, "'Tis new to thee." And I guess that was from one of Shakespeare's plays as well. They don't even tell me which one.
We're just supposed to know.
Yeah. Maybe if I was more studious back in those days, I would know. And then finally, this is an episode which includes a rare glimpse of the seldom seen left side of the bridge opposite the turbo lift. And I have to go back and see that now.
Well, we don't see much of it, I don't think. Maybe a glimpse. All right. Well, thank you, Adam. Thank you for that trivia. All right, let's get into our ratings. And Jody's already phoned his in. So we are rating, is there in truth no beauty, which of course is a Shakespearean reference. Jody gave this a 7. Dad, where do you give it?
I would go a little higher than that. I'd probably go 7.7.
7.7. I'll give this an 8. I think it's worthy. Adam?
Yeah, I'm sticking with you, Dave. I like this one. 8 for me as well.
Okay, and then we are averaging at a 7.7 for the four of us. This is a 7 out of 10 on IMDb, so kind of call it 7.3 in the middle. And this was written by Jean Lisette Arosti. I don't think I'm saying that right. But this has been the only times we've actually spoken about this episode on the anniversary of its premiere, October 18th, 1968 to October 18th, 2021. Sorry. Don't even know my centuries. Okay. And then we only have 4 episodes left, guys. The next one is called The Deadly Years. This is where they all get old.
Oh, right. Yes.
I feel like we're heading into like a couple good ones here as we wrap up.
We are. There's by any other name, I think is a great episode. The Cage, I think, is just a classic. And then All Our Yesterdays, I don't even know what it is, but we're gonna find it out. Those are the 4 we have left. And so there is a bit of a we're just kind of finagling around curling schedules. So next week, Dad.
Next week we can do 7.
Do 7? Okay, let's. Adam, would that be okay for you?
7. Then we got to do 10, 7, and 10.
Just to get through these 4 that are left.
Yeah.
Because he's not available. His schedule's kind of sporadic, like up and down for the next couple weeks, right? But
yeah, that's fine with me. I'll just take it from the office, no problem.
till we can get just through 4.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep,
four
we're
more.
good.
4
No
more.
problem. Happy to be here, guys.
All right. Well, we're gonna close the book here tonight on "Is There in Truth No Beauty?" I only have to say it that last time. So I've been trying to finagle my way around the tongue twister of this episode title. Also, as I mentioned, we already talked about Star Trek Deep Space Nine for this week. It was earlier tonight. It was Jeff Mader wasn't available for Tuesday night, so we moved it. So we talked about Return to Grace tonight, which was the episode where Gul Dukat teamed up with Kira to take on some Klingons after they attacked a colony, and it's all about Dukat trying to sort of get back, like get out of his exile, and because he was so good not to murder his daughter Toraziel. So we're talking about all of that tonight. If you like Star Trek Deep Space Nine, check out our podcast every week. We talk about the next episode. We're doing that sequentially. Also, when this podcast wraps up Star Trek the original series, we're going to be talking about Star Trek Enterprise, the show that came later, but it's actually a prequel to Star Trek the original series. So that will be coming up in the coming, I guess, in 5 weeks or so, once we wrap this up. And then what else am I forgetting?
Discovery
is starting on November 18th, season 4. I'm going to talk about that with Adam and Michael Chan. That will be starting November 18th. But before that, starting next week, October 28th, guess what? Star Trek Prodigy is premiering. And I'm going to be talking about that with Davin.
We got Star Trek everywhere right now, Dave.
Star Trek's everywhere, man. And so we got Davin Skellhorn and we got Jessica Chan, who are going to be covering that with me. At least for, I guess it will be 4 weeks before I'll be doing double duty with Discovery as well. So that's going to be a lot of fun. We also just wrapped up Star Trek Lower Decks season 2. We did all of those episodes. This Thursday, we're talking the whole season. We're just going to talk about the whole season kind of in general. Adam, you're more than welcome to join us for that.
I'd love to. When are you doing that?
We're doing that at 8:00 on Thursday.
This week?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're available, we'll be talking. Jody's coming into that one because I did the week to week with Jeff and Jaemeel, and now we're going to be kind of just talking about the whole thing together. Sort of how do we like the whole season, which I really loved this second season of Lower Decks. It was really, really fun. So I feel like they're starting to get their act together over there at Paramount, CBS, whoever. So it's lots of new Star Trek into the new year. We'll be talking about Picard, Strange New Worlds. And check out our other channels, which we don't even talk about Star Trek on, including our Super Mater Brothers podcasting channel, where we talk about reality TV shows, including Big Brother and unscripted TV shows that aren't Star Trek, like Tiger King. And we talked about The Serpent. We talked about Westworld, and we did Big Brother. But also right now, actively, we're covering season 41 of Survivor. Going into the 5th week, we'll be on Wednesday night at 9:30 to talk about that. And then our third channel is Trivial Debates, our monthly show where we argue about movie, TV, sports, and more. That will be on October 31st. It will be a special Halloween edition. We got that coming up for Sunday the 31st. I've got to put the panel together and the guests. But I got over a week, so what am I worried about? But check out Trivial Debates last Sunday of every month. And also, just to plug our friends, my son's got a podcast, Aim Mater. It's called Let's Talk About Fighting Games. You can find that on Spotify or wherever you get your audio podcasts. And we have Davin Skellhorn, my second cousin, who also has his podcast called Locutors of Trek. He joins us on our Star Trek Lower Decks. He was on talking about us with Star Trek Deep Space Nine tonight. Great guy. I was on his show last night. His channel's called Locutors of Trek, and we were doing his trivia show called The Trouble with Trivia. I totally smoked them. So if you want to know about that, check that out over on his channel. All right, that's it for tonight. We'll be back in a week to talk about the Deadly Years. And thanks everyone. And I know it was a late one. So that's the wrong banner. What am I doing? Give me my Tetrick. And until then, we'll sign off and just say live long and podcast, everyone. Have a great night, and we'll see you next time.
Okay.